2 weeks ago, I gave my parents their dream car, a brand new Toyota Camry, paid for with 6 months of overtime. They call me the best daughter. The next day, I found out I was disinherited in favor of my brother Michael. What I did next shattered our family forever. My name is Sarah Thompson. I'm 35, and for most of my life, I've played the role of the dependable daughter. You know the type, the one who shows up, handles emergencies, keeps the family afloat without ever asking for anything in return. My parents raised me with a strong sense of duty. Be helpful, be humble, don't expect recognition. I believed that for a long time. When Dad had his first heart scare, I covered the hospital bills. When Mom was diagnosed with diabetes, I paid for the insulin. Every month, without fail, $500 for medication, $300 for supplemental insurance, hundreds more for maintenance on their aging home. I did it out of love, but also because I knew they couldn't count on Michael. Michael is my younger brother, the golden child. A cardiologist, successful, charming, always greeted with pride and admiration. He shows up for holidays, posts pictures with our parents, and leaves the next morning. Meanwhile, I'm the one driving them to appointments, fixing the furnace, organizing prescriptions. But none of that made me their favorite. When I graduated summa cum laude with my accounting degree, they took me out to dinner 6 people at a local restaurant. When Michael barely passed med school, they rented a hall, sent invitations, hired a band. One time, I brought home my CPA certification. Mom looked at it briefly and said, "That's nice, dear." Michael just got accepted into his residency. Every family gathering was the same. Michael saves lives, Sarah does numbers. Like I was selling coupons door to door. I never corrected them. I smiled, I swallowed it, I let it go. The truth? My first year as a CPA, I made nearly double what Michael earned in residency. When I landed my MBA from Northwestern while working full-time, no one blinked. When I became CFO at 33, I didn't even bother telling them. The last time I tried, Mom interrupted me to tell me about Michael's new office. They mortgaged the house to help pay for his education. I paid off that mortgage when interest rates ballooned. They needed a new roof. My Christmas bonus. Furnace went out in January. My credit card, bathroom remodeled after Dad's surgery. My savings, Michael sent a get well card. The saddest part? I didn't do any of this for recognition. I did it because I thought that's what love looked like, showing up, staying quiet, doing the work. And I figured that eventually they'd see me, appreciate me. But they didn't, not really. I was dependable Sarah, reliable Sarah, good with money. The one who doesn't need anything. The one who's fine on her own. Until I wasn't. Until I handed them the keys to a brand new Camry, their dream car, and thought for a second, just a second, that I mattered just as much as their precious Michael. I was wrong, it was Dad's dream car. He'd mentioned it every few months for the last 5 years, how smooth it drove, how quiet the cabin was, how he loved the idea of one last new car before he gave up driving. Mom would always laugh, say they couldn't afford it, maybe someday. I decided to make someday happen. I worked 6 months of overtime, skipped vacations, and pulled double duty on weekends. Every time I clicked submit on another grueling report or stayed late reviewing financials, I pictured Dad behind that wheel. That's what kept me going. When the car finally arrived pearl white, with a giant red bow, I could barely wait to show them. I pulled up to their house, rang the bell, and told them to come outside. They gasped. Mom cried. Dad hugged me so tightly, I thought my ribs would crack. "We don't deserve you," she said, through tears. For a moment, I believed them. I thought maybe all those years of sacrifice, of being second best, were finally seen. That this car, this gesture, had closed the gap between Michael and me. They called me the best daughter in the world. We took pictures in front of it. Dad sat in the driver's seat, beaming. Mom said it was the nicest thing anyone had ever done for them. I told them they deserved it. But deep down, I hoped they saw me not just as the daughter who provides, but as the daughter who mattered. I parked it in their driveway with the bow still on, placed the keys in Mom's hand, and reminded her it was fully paid off, no monthly payments, no catch, just a gift. That was a Saturday. By Sunday evening, I would learn about the will. The one that gave everything to Michael, the house, the savings, even the jewelry I once helped Mom catalog for insurance. My name was nowhere, except beside a note. Sarah gets the photo albums. A $35,000 gift. A decade of financial support. A lifetime of effort. And I was worth some dusty scrapbooks. That car was supposed to be proof I belonged. Instead, it became proof I was never going to. I wasn't snooping, I was helping. It was the morning of Dad's 70th birthday party. I was setting the table, fluffing centerpieces, double-checking the cake delivery time. Mom asked me to grab her sweater from the bedroom. That's when I saw it, papers half sticking out of her purse on the bed. One glance and I knew. Legal formatting, official seal, notarized stamp. Curiosity pulled me closer. My name, Michael's name. The house, the savings. I froze. I wasn't imagining it. The will had been changed. Everything was going to Michael. The $800,000 house I'd paid to renovate. The joint savings I'd poured nearly $90,000 into. Even Grandma Thompson's wedding ring set something Mom once promised me as a little girl. I got the photo albums. Literally, the words were printed in neat legal font. Personal memorabilia including family photo albums shall be left to Sarah Thompson. That was it. It didn't say, in gratitude for her sacrifices. It didn't say, for her support over the years. It didn't even mention my name beyond that one line. The rest was a love letter to Michael, the son, the doctor, the heir. I stood there, sweater in hand, heart pounding. All the work I'd done, the finances, the errands, the medical emergencies had been invisible. Or worse, irrelevant. When I finally confronted Mom, hours later she looked panicked. Where did you see that? That wasn't for your eyes. Is it true? I asked. Am I really not getting anything but photo albums? She tried to reassure me. Michael has a family. He has responsibilities. You're stable. You don't need help. Stable because I've been supporting you for 12 years, I said. That's when she dropped the line that gutted me. You have your husband. Michael doesn't have that safety net. We divorced 3 years ago. She blinked. What? He left, took everything. I rebuilt from scratch. Her face paled. Why didn't you say something? Because you never asked. I walked away, but something in me had shifted. That car I gave them. It suddenly felt like a mistake. A transaction I didn't realize I was part of. And the photo albums? They were the perfect metaphor. They gave me the memories while giving Michael the future. I arrived at my parents' house at 6 o'clock sharp. The caterers weren't due until noon, but I wanted everything perfect. For 3 months, I'd been planning this party Dad's 70th birthday, a milestone worthy of celebration. I'd coordinated with vendors, designed custom invites, arranged centerpieces, even flown in Uncle Dennis from Florida. The backyard had been transformed with crisscross string lights, white linen-covered tables, and a handmade photo collage documenting Dad's life. By 10 a.m., it looked like something out of a wedding magazine. Every detail was curated, every plate, every napkin folded just right. The banner above the garden read, 70 years young, in Dad's favorite navy blue. Guests began arriving at 2 p.m., cousins from New Jersey, Mom's church friends, Dad's old colleagues. The compliments flowed. Sarah, you've outdone yourself, Aunt Margaret said, squeezing my shoulder. Your parents are so lucky to have you. At 4 p.m., Michael finally arrived 2 hours late, of course. Still in his doctor's coat, stethoscope around his neck like a prop, Jennifer followed, decked out in designer heels and loud apologies about hospital emergencies. Everyone rushed over. Mom practically lit up. Michael's here. Our doctor made it. She dragged him from group to group, bragging about his recent promotion to head of cardiology. Nobody asked about my new CFO position. Nobody knew I made partner last year. I refilled drinks, adjusted the cake table, and watched from the kitchen as Michael held court. Around 5 p.m., I noticed something odd. Mom and Aunt Margaret were huddled in the living room, whispering urgently. Margaret kept glancing at me, then back at Michael. Mom clutched a folder of papers to her chest. I approached with a tray of appetizers, pretending to be casual. As I got closer, Mom shoved the papers into her purse. But not before I caught a glimpse of that same notary seal. Sarah, honey, Mom said with a tight smile. Shouldn't you check on the cake? I nodded and stepped away but stayed within earshot. Linda, Aunt Margaret said. She deserves to know. There's nothing to tell, Mom snapped. It's done. Michael needs the support. Sarah has her husband. My blood ran cold. They still thought I was married. Still thought I had a financial cushion. Margaret lowered her voice. But after everything Sarah's done, she's always been good with money, Mom interrupted. Michael has a family. He'll give us grandkids. The house stays with the Thompson name. The rage hit slow, like heat creeping up your neck. I thought of the roof I'd replaced. The MRI I paid for. The groceries, the medications, the holidays I hosted because their house was too much work. All of it. I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled and returned to the party. Dad called out, "Sarah! Where's my birthday girl? Come take a photo with your old man." I walked into the room, still smiling. The cake was waiting, the champagne was chilling, and I had a decision to make. As Dad positioned me for the photo, I looked at the faces around me. They saw the dependable daughter, the helper, the quiet one. They didn't know, not yet. I posed for the picture. Then I excused myself. In the kitchen I pulled out my phone. 12 years of bank statements, dozens of transfers. Receipts from Home Depot, Walgreens, the hospital billing department. I hadn't planned to say anything, but I had the receipts, and I had the truth. And I was done being invisible? The rest of the story? Let's just say it wasn't the birthday party anyone expected. I didn't plan a confrontation. I planned a celebration. But standing in the kitchen doorway, hearing my life reduced to a footnote in my parents' legacy, I knew I couldn't stay quiet. As I returned to the party, a few guests were already whispering, and Margaret's voice had carried more than she realized. I could see Michael in the center of the room, smiling and charming as always, completely unaware of the storm about to hit. Dad called for the cake. Mom tried to shepherd people into the backyard, her voice tight. But I stepped forward, Camry keys in one hand, phone in the other. "Before we do cake," I said loudly, "I'd like to say a few words." Every head turned. Mom froze. Michael raised an eyebrow. Jennifer looked confused. "I wasn't going to say anything today," I began. "But since the topic of the will is already circulating, thanks, Aunt Margaret, I think it's time for a little family transparency." "Sarah," Dad warned, voice sharp. "This isn't the time." I ignored him. 12 years ago, I started supporting Mom and Dad financially. It began small, $500 for insulin here, $200 for heart medication there. But it never stopped. I set up automatic payments. I paid for medical bills, house repairs, grocery runs. Not once was I asked. Not once did I say no. I opened my banking app and connected it to the TV setup I had arranged for the slideshow. The screen lit up behind me. Medical support, $78,000 over 12 years. Gasps, murmurs. Monthly support, $216,000. That's $1,500 per month. Every month. I swiped. Home renovations, roof $15,000. Furnace $8,000. Bathroom remodel $12,000. Foundation repair $22,000. Stop, Mom whispered. Please. I didn't. Total, $487,000. That's nearly $500,000. All from me. The screen changed again. Michael's contribution, $0. Michael's face flushed. That's not fair. I helped in other ways. Name one, I said. He didn't. Jennifer folded her arms. Michael? Oh, but it gets better, I continued. While I was paying the bills, Michael was accruing gambling debt. $400,000 in casino markers. 3 mortgages on his house. Credit cards maxed out. I have the records. I swiped to the next screen. Court filings, loan documents, bank statements. Jennifer, did you know Michael forged your signature on a second mortgage? What? She screamed. It's right here, public record. Your Instagram says you were in Miami the day it was signed. Michael signed it without you. You forged my signature? Jennifer shoved him hard. You lied to me. Sarah, this is enough, Dad barked. You're humiliating the family. No, I said calmly. I'm correcting the narrative. You wanted to leave everything to Michael. Fine, but let's all be honest about who's actually been taking care of you. I opened another document, an email from Mom's friend at the bank, accidentally sent to me. New will finalized. Michael will be relieved. That's what it said, relieved, because he's broke and drowning and needs the inheritance to survive. Jennifer was crying now. This can't be real. I turned to the crowd. This is the man inheriting everything, the man you've all praised. The successful doctor. Silence. Then Aunt Margaret, glass of wine in hand, muttered, "Guess Sarah's not so crazy after all." Mom was crying. "We didn't know, you thought wrong," I said. "You assumed I was fine, that my life was perfect, that Michael needed it more. You never asked. You never saw me." I pulled the Camry keys from my pocket. "You know that car I gave you last week? I'm taking it back. The title's still in my name." Jennifer stepped forward. "Sarah, do you have the number of your investigator?" "I do," I said, handing her a card. "He's very thorough." The party was officially over. The DJ shut off the music. Some guests left. Others stayed, watching the fallout like it was reality TV. I looked at my parents. "You raised me to believe family means showing up, supporting each other." "I did that." "Michael didn't, yet you chose him." Dad opened his mouth, then closed it. Mom just wept. "You're right," I said. "This isn't about money. It's about value." "And you made it clear where I stand." I walked out of the house, leaving behind the cake, the decorations, and the family that never really saw me. What came next was the real reckoning. After I walked out of that house, something inside me changed. Not anger, not sadness, just clarity. A kind of silence in my soul that felt like the truth finally making room to breathe. I got in my car, the one I paid for, not the one I just took back and drove home. I didn't cry. I didn't replay the arguments. I just let the stillness wash over me. By the time I reached my apartment, my phone had 23 missed calls. My mom, my dad, Michael, even Jennifer. Aunt Margaret texted, "You did what needed to be done." I didn't answer any of them. The next morning, I started the process. I emailed my lawyer and sent over the notarized loan agreement from 5 years ago, the one Dad insisted we sign when I paid for the foundation repairs. I didn't plan to ever collect on it. But now, it was time. Demand for repayment. $200,000. I drafted a formal statement ending all financial support effective immediately. No more medication payments. No more utility bills. No more mortgage help. If Michael was the chosen one, he could handle it now, and I meant it. That Monday, the automatic payments stopped. My bank account felt lighter. My conscience even more so. The next few days were a blur of silence and noise. Silence from me, noise from everyone else. Voicemails full of apologies, guilt trips, bargaining. Dad begged me to talk. Mom cried on command. Michael shouted and threatened to sue. For what? I don't know. They weren't used to hearing no from me. They weren't used to seeing boundaries. For 12 years, I operated as their emergency fund, their personal assistant, their safety net. Now they'd have to look elsewhere, or better yet, look inward. What surprised me most? The peace. My home felt quieter. My days felt longer. My work thrived. Without the constant drain of managing their crises, I had energy again. Joy even. I went to brunch with friends. I booked a solo trip to Spain. I started volunteering at a local women's shelter, teaching financial literacy. I told them what I had just learned myself. You are not selfish for walking away. You are not cruel for saying enough. You are not heartless for refusing to be used. You are free, and I was, truly, finally, free. It didn't take long for the consequences to show up. 3 days after I cut them off, Mom called the pharmacy for her insulin. The pharmacist told her the payment didn't go through. She called me in a panic. I calmly said, "Call Michael. He says he doesn't have the money until next week," she whispered. "What am I supposed to do?" "I don't know, Mom. I figured he'd handle it. After all, he's the one inheriting everything." She hung up without another word. A week later, Dad called. The mortgage payment was due. I reminded him about the $200,000 loan I was legally collecting. "If you can't pay," I said, "I'll accept the house as collateral." "You wouldn't," he growled. "I already am." The family grapevine went wild. Aunt Margaret told me the relatives were saying I had lost my mind, gone too far, disgraced the family. But then the tone started to change. Because while they whispered about me, Michael couldn't keep up. He sold his car, took extra shifts, that the bills piled up. The IRS came knocking. The medical board launched an investigation into his prescription practices. Jennifer filed for divorce, this time for real. Within 6 weeks, Michael had moved back into our parents' house, the same house I'd paid to renovate. He drove an old sedan now. And he was working 12-hour shifts at an urgent care clinic. Meanwhile, I bought a penthouse downtown. Landed a $10 million contract. I was promoted again senior partner. My circle grew to include people who respected me, admired me, saw me. Mom started calling again, leaving voicemails. "We miss you. Michael's trying his best. Can't we just start over?" But I didn't answer, because it wasn't about money. It was about value. And finally, for the first time in my life, I wasn't being undervalued anymore. Freedom wasn't loud. It was quiet, steady, and powerful. Once I stopped carrying everyone else's weight, I finally had the energy to carry myself. My mornings weren't rushed anymore. No emergency calls, no juggling prescriptions. Just coffee, sunlight, and a clear mind. At work, I was sharper. I led meetings with confidence, closed million-dollar deals with ease. My firm trusted me, and now I trusted myself. I started traveling, Spain first, then Italy. I ate alone in Paris and felt more full than I ever had surrounded by family. I laughed with strangers. I danced in the streets. I remembered who I was before obligation weighed me down. Then I went further. I created a workshop at the local women's shelter, boundaries and bank accounts. Every month I sat with women who looked like me, sounded like me, felt like me. Women taught to give until they had nothing left. I told them the truth. You don't owe anyone your peace, not even your parents. I shared my story in pieces. The inheritance. The car, the confrontation. Their eyes widened. Some cried, some laughed. But all of them understood. That Camry I took back? I donated it to the shelter. They auctioned it for $30,000. 5 women got new starts. 5 lives changed because I finally chose myself. Michael eventually sent a letter, handwritten, apologetic. Honest for once, he was in therapy. He'd sold the boat, the Mercedes, even the house. Jennifer left. The medical board suspended his license and he was working 2 jobs just to stay afloat. He thanked me. Side-eye opened his eyes. Sighed he didn't deserve my forgiveness but hoped for it anyway. I didn't reply, but I didn't block him either. That was growth. Mom started writing too. The letters were different. Not guilt trips, just quiet confessions, regret in ink. Pages filled with "I didn't know," and "I wish we de-listened." 1 year after the party, I stood in front of a packed room at the shelter. "Self-respect," I told them, "is the best inheritance you'll ever earn." They clapped, some stood. One woman came up after, hugged me tight and whispered, "You saved me, but the truth? I saved myself first." If this story resonated with you, know this: choosing yourself is not selfish. It's survival. For years, I gave everything to people who gave me the bare minimum in return. When I walked away, I didn't just reclaim my money, I reclaimed my worth, and that changed everything. What's the hardest boundary you've ever had to set with family? Share it in the comments. I read every single one. If you found strength in this story, hit the like button, subscribe, and tap the bell icon. You're not alone. And sometimes, walking away is exactly how you finally come home to yourself.